This is the post-project world. I'm Luigi Pascal Rondanini. In the last episode, I described how a governance framework was born from a real enterprise transformation program. I introduced three forces that explain why programs degrade: governance, friction energy lost as heat; coordination debt, the accumulated cost of governance shortcuts; and the throughput, trapped a cycle where debt consumes capacity, which generates more friction, which consumes more capacity. Today I want to describe what replaces that cycle. Not more governance, better governance. Let me start with what's wrong with the traditional model. Most governance models are designed around scheduled events: monthly steering committee, weekly status report, fortnightly technical design authority, quarterly executive review. These events are necessary, they provide structure, they create predictability. But if governance exists only in scheduled meetings, then governance is intermittent, and intermittent governance creates gaps. A risk emerges on Tuesday, the risk review is on Friday. For 3 days, the risk is ungoverned. A decision is needed urgently. The steering committee is in 2 weeks. The decision either waits, creating delay, or gets made informally, creating coordination debt. A dependency changes. The dependency register is updated monthly. For 3 weeks, the program plan is based on obsolete information. These are not failures of the people involved. They are structural failures of the governance model. The governance engine is a different model. It views governance as a continuous cycle with 6 states, not 6 meetings, 6 states. Observe. The program collects information regarding progress, risks, quality, dependencies, and delivery capability. What is happening? Interpret. Raw information becomes understanding. Dependencies become visible. Risks emerge. Trends appear. The question changes from what is happening to what does it mean? Decide. Every significant governance activity culminates in a decision backed by evidence, authority, accountability, and documented rationale. What should we do? Execute. Approved decisions become work. Governance transitions into observation mode, watching whether the decision produces the expected outcome. Are we doing it? Validate. Execution without validation creates optimism. Validation converts execution into demonstrable capability. Did it work? Learn. Every completed governance cycle increases organizational capability. Lessons become improvements. Processes evolve. What did we learn? Then the cycle begins again. These 6 states are always operating, not sequentially, in parallel. Different workstreams are in different states at the same time. A requirement might be in decide, while a migration plan is in observe, and the test result is in validate. The governance engine is not a meeting cadence. It's a continuous operating system. 3 properties make this model different from what most programs use. First, governance is recursive. Governance itself is governed. The PMO reviews governance. The steering committee reviews governance. Governance continuously improves its own operation. In most programs, the governance model designed during mobilization is the same governance model used at Go Live. That makes no sense. A program at Go Live is a fundamentally different organism than a program at mobilization. It has different risks, different dependencies, different decision requirements. The governance engine adapts. Second, the 3 time horizons. Every governance decision should be evaluated across 3 horizons. Horizon 1, immediate. Will this decision enable today's work? Horizon 2, program. Will this decision improve program delivery? Horizon 3, enterprise. Will this decision improve the organization after the program has finished? Most programs optimize only Horizon 1. They ask, does this unblock the next activity? And if the answer is yes, they proceed. The governance engine requires balancing all 3. A decision might unblock today's work, but create coordination debt for the program. A decision might slow the program, but strengthen the enterprise's governance capability permanently. Third, governance energy is finite. This connects directly to the throughput trap from the last episode. Every activity that consumes energy without producing capability is friction, and friction depletes the finite governance capacity the program possesses. So the PMO should constantly ask, is this governance activity generating organizational capability or merely consuming organizational energy? That single question should drive continuous improvement. Now let me go deeper on 2 components of the engine, stage gates and decisions. They sound routine. Every program has them, but in this framework, they're understood differently. A stage gate is a formal governance decision point. It is not a meeting. It is not a presentation. It is not an administrative checkpoint. A stage gate is the point at which the organization determines whether sufficient confidence exists to authorize progression into the next phase of the program. And here's the principle that I believe distinguishes this framework from how most programs operate. Programs should progress because confidence has increased, not because time has passed. Time is a planning mechanism. Evidence is a governance mechanism. In most programs, progression happens because the schedule says it should. The milestone date arrives. Whether or not the work is properly complete, the program moves to the next phase because the plan says it should. That's schedule-driven progression. In this framework, progression happens because governance has verified, through evidence, that the program is ready to proceed. The evidence pack is reviewed, the entry criteria are confirmed, the governance body makes an informed decision. That's confidence-driven progression. Every stage gate concludes with one of 4 decisions. Proceed, all criteria satisfied. Proceed with conditions, minor issues remain, corrective actions assigned, progression authorized with explicit conditions. Hold, criteria not satisfied, further evidence required. Reject, fundamental concerns exist, replan before reconsidering. Hold and reject should never be interpreted as program failure. Delaying progression frequently represents effective governance. Proceeding without confidence rarely does. And there's an important distinction between contractual milestones and governance readiness. A contractual milestone may have been achieved. The vendor may have delivered what the contract says they should deliver. But governance may nevertheless determine that program readiness remains insufficient. Conversely, governance readiness should not be interpreted as contractual acceptance unless explicitly stated within the statement of work. Maintaining this distinction protects both the institution and the vendor. Now, decisions. Every enterprise transformation program generates thousands of decisions. Some determine strategic direction, others influence architecture, scope, operational readiness, testing, migration, or deployment. And here's what I find remarkable. Requirements are version controlled, source code is version controlled, documents are version controlled. Decisions often are not. This framework treats decisions as enterprise assets, not minutes, not actions, assets. Every significant decision is governed throughout its life cycle through the Program Decision Register, maintained by the PMO. Every decision uniquely identifiable, traceable, and searchable. And every decision follows a life cycle: identification, analysis, recommendation, approval, communication, implementation, verification, closure. Here's why this matters practically. In almost every program I've worked on, the single most common source of delay is not technical failure, it's this. Wait, did we decide that? I thought we agreed to do it the other way. Who approved that? That was discussed, but I don't think it was formally decided. Each of these moments creates rework, delay, and friction, and each one is preventable through basic decision governance. The framework classifies decisions into 5 categories: strategic, governed by the steering committee; business, governed by the Business Governance Forum; technical, governed by the Technical Design Authority; commercial, governed by the Vendor Oversight Committee; operational, governed by the PMO. This classification prevents decisions being made at the wrong level and prevents inappropriate escalation of routine decisions. And then there are the anti-patterns, the behaviors that destroy governance effectiveness. Undocumented verbal approvals, decisions recorded only in meeting minutes that nobody reads, multiple conflicting versions of the same decision, implementation before approval, repeated reconsideration without new evidence, decisions with no accountable owner, decisions based on schedule pressure rather than evidence. Each anti-pattern introduces coordination debt and governance friction. They are exactly the mechanisms I described in the last episode, and they are preventable. Here's the principle. A program's future is determined not by the number of decisions it makes, but by the quality, traceability, and execution of those decisions. When decisions are governed, deliberately created, documented, implemented, and retained, governance ceases to be a record of the past. It becomes a mechanism for shaping the future. Now let me step back from the operating system and talk about what makes it durable. You can write 500 pages of governance documentation, proper sections, revision history, templates, flowcharts, RACI matrices. And if it's all in one layer, if the principles, the practices, and the specific tools are all mixed together, it has a shelf life. When the tools change, the principles get thrown out with them. When someone upgrades the platform, the methodology disappears. This is what happens to most governance documentation. It's written for a specific program. It works for that program. And when the program ends, it goes to a shared drive and nobody opens it again. The framework avoids that through a deliberate separation of 3 layers. Layer 1 is doctrine. Doctrine is timeless, coordination capital, governance as an operating system, evidence creates trust, coordination, debt compounds, decisions are enterprise assets, AI augments governance but never replaces accountability. These principles should remain stable for decades. They don't depend on any particular technology, vendor, or methodology. The coordination capital doctrine in the book lives at this layer. It establishes why coordination is material, how to measure it, and where governance authority resides. CCR, structural floor, coordination drift. The 5 bucket classification, these are doctrinal instruments. Layer 2 is framework. Framework is best practice. It changes occasionally as the profession learns. Stage gate design, governance body structures, dashboard architectures, decision registers, evidence packs. Reporting standards. The governance engine with its 6 states: governance, friction, coordination debt, organizational throughput. These are framework concepts. They operationalize the doctrine. They evolve as organizations discover better ways to govern. Layer 3 is implementation. Implementation changes constantly. OrbaOS Instruments, the measurement platform at instruments.orbaos.com, operationalizes the doctrine for boards and audit committees. It runs CCR diagnostics, derives structural floors, produces governance reports, the specific JIRA configuration, the Power BI dashboard, the AI prompts that draft governance narratives. Implementations are disposable. They should be. Technology changes. What shouldn't change is the governance architecture underneath. This separation is critical. When you conflate doctrine with implementation, governance collapses when the platform changes. When you conflate framework with doctrine, governance principles shift every time someone discovers a better practice. The 3 layers prevent both failures. The doctrine is stable, the framework evolves, the implementation adapts. And every governance component must pass 4 tests before it enters the framework. The practical test. Did this solve a real problem? Not, wouldn't it be nice, but we needed this and it worked. The simplicity test. Can it be explained in 2 minutes to a steering committee? If not, rewrite it. The implementation test. Can it be operationalized in software? OrbaOS Instruments is the proof of this test. Every governance concept I've described is either already implemented there or could be. The adoption test. Would another organization use it without the reference program? If yes, it belongs in the framework. If no, it belongs in the case study. These tests are ruthless, and they should be. A governance framework that fails the practical test is academic. One that fails the simplicity test is unusable. One that fails the implementation test is aspirational. One that fails the adoption test is a war story. Let me end with something personal. I've spent nearly 4 decades in institutional finance, FX, treasury, derivatives, technology, governance. I've seen dozens of enterprise transformation programs. The ones that succeeded didn't have better technology, they had better coordination. The ones that failed didn't have worse teams, they had worse governance. Every concept in this framework was shaped by a single conviction. The future competitive advantage of organizations will depend less on their ability to execute projects and more on their ability to coordinate them. That, ultimately, is the purpose of enterprise governance. I want to leave you with 6 ideas. If these are the only things you remember, they'll be enough. Projects don't fail because people stop working. They fail because people stop coordinating. Good governance does not slow transformation. Good governance allows transformation to move at full speed without losing control. Coordination debt is invisible until it blocks something. By then, the cost of repayment is 10 times what it would have been. A program can exhaust its governance capacity before it exhausts its delivery energy. Programs should progress because confidence has increased, not because time has passed. A governance framework succeeds when it becomes easier to use than to ignore. This is the post-project world. I'm Luigi Rondanini. Thank you for listening.